All right. A very quick check-in with Head and Shoulders, another entry in F. Scott Fitzgerald's short story collection, Flappers and Philosophers. This is section 4, which I actually kind of quite enjoy. They get married. Horace Tarpot and Marcia Meadows, now Marcia Tarpot. She continues to work because he's had to get a job as a clerk and just can't bring in enough money. She insists that like he's starting to look more and more stooped over. He's reading at night and things like that. And she makes him a deal. Says like, look, you're looking as bent over and stooped as you were when I met you. You go to the gym for 3 minutes a week, and I will read a book, and I'll read some Peeps. Apparently, is what decides to read. So they do make a deal, and he actually and she calls them Head and Shoulders, him being the head, her being the shoulders, because that's a part of her dance routine, is this kind of shrugging shoulders thing, which kind of hurts her shoulders, but it's a part of her dance routine. And he gets quite good at it, so good that some guy says, hey, have you ever considered doing that professionally? He's like, no, not me. Goes home, and Marcia's pregnant and is going to have to take next while off, and says, oh, and I can go back to work again afterwards. And he's like, no, we're gonna figure something out. So he goes back to the guy and ends up becoming an acrobat, working at the Hippodrome, doing shows, and is actually gets quite good at it, quite famous at it. And she gives birth, and she's had all these long months of kind of confinement, and she's like, I've written a book. And you should take it to the guy who first noticed a letter I wrote to him that he thought was quite good. And he says, oh, well, okay, sure, I will. And it's it's actually kind of a slight reflection of her Sandra Pepys, syncopated by Marcia Tarbox. Is the thing, and he kind of reads through it and it's like, well, it's quite readable, though it's got atrocious grammar and all this sort of stuff. It's like, but you promise to take it to me? And he says, yes, I do. And there's a whole thing through all these sections of like, he's like, wow, it's like, what happens if I hadn't, when life raps on your door and answers, like, things can change. Like, he thought he was going to be the new philosopher and stuff like that. Now he is an acrobat with a pregnant wife who is trying to become an author. And he thinks about all the books that he hasn't written. And at the end of this section, he goes, poor gauzy souls trying to express ourselves in something tangible. Marcia with her written book, I with my unwritten ones, trying to choose our mediums, and then taking what we get and being glad, which they're being glad. So it's like, it's a happy story, but we have another section, so I guess we'll see if it continues to be happy. But I kind of like this. They're actually kind of equals. They're not like, oh, she's not like a woman child, and he's not the kind of the criminal guy who's reaching for so much more. It's actually a much more well-adjusted couple in this story. I'm actually kind of enjoying it. It's kind of atypical for what I've read of Fitzgerald so far. All right, that's what I have. More videos later.